Hey guys, welcome to Miles of Madmac. I'm Captain Chris here with,
Dandy Daddy.
and we're definitely in those dog days of summer right now, so we'll just come right out and say it. It's been kind of a tough, weird week this week for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's been fish out, like inshore fish out there, but it's been definitely a little interesting compared to July's past.
Yeah, I always feel like this time of year, like that fourth week of July, is always kind of like a little bit of a slow lull in the season, especially when it's paired with a storm or a strong northwest wind like we had Thursday into Friday. What day is today? Today's Monday.
Today's Monday.
So Saturday into Sunday,
Yeah,
and even I think it was Tuesday into Wednesday. These weather patterns all season long have just been changing so much. It's been a little difficult to stay on a consistent bite day in and day out,
yeah,
and trying to pattern them. Patterning has been rather challenging this year. I feel like on a lot of my trips, I really haven't done the same thing 3 days in a row. Getting into that rhythm. So, especially now when you're looking at a slow bite, so you're looking at small but usually pretty good bite windows. Like
yeah,
if you're in the right place at the right time.
definitely. Well, I mean, the weather. Obviously, we got a lot of rain. The river, fishing in the river is difficult when there's like a mad rush of water coming down. It did make for some great fishing in the mouth. There were some what I would call banner days fishing in the mouth.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the inconsistency in the water temperature out on the beachfront is pretty wild.
It's been out of control,
Yeah.
man. One day it's 73, the next day it's 62, then it's 68.
Yep. Yeah. There was. I was out at the 3 Mile Line, and then it was 68 degrees, and then all of a sudden, it just turned to 75.
Yeah.
And that's not really water that I want to be fishing in because I feel like the fish just become lethargic, not hungry, or they're just not there in general.
Yeah, the other day, man, I was just trying to find some good water temp off the beach,
Hmm.
and it was I kept like driving south and north and east, and I was like in 72, 73, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go to the Parker. The water's a little cooler there. It was 57.
Yeah.
57
Yeah,
degrees.
that's
A
crazy.
quarter mile out, it was 73. So it's been tough trying to find that nice little habitat. But,
Definitely. Well, with the warm water brings the summertime blues, though.
oh, yeah, we had a couple of waves of them. Had a couple of days early last week where they were fun chasing the mackerel out.
Yep.
So that was a good morning to wake out to and then go try to find some mackerel for the day. Um, yeah, there's been bluefish kind of in our area, kind of like everywhere and nowhere. It's been kind of weird.
Yep. Yeah.
Have-
That's how they are, though. I mean, like once you find them, it's just they're pretty much typically stacked up.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing is the water temp changes kind of all over the place
Yeah.
too. That's moving them around. I know I haven't gotten many bluefish. Just kind of like one of those things. Someone calls you in, or you see them on your screen, and we'll go into this a little bit more detail. I got some screenshots on my fish finder of being able to tell the difference between like bass and bluefish. Are you able to tell? I mean, you're
Yeah.
just
Well,
new with the hummingbird. I don't know if you have seen
yeah.
enough.
Well, because I've gotten like solid marks of both of them.
Yeah,
It's I guess the bluefish they really stack up like cordwood under the fish finder.
they do, and that's
Yeah.
kind of like the telltale. That it's like that vertical stacking.
Exactly. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So it's the bass. It's definitely a little bit more spaced out, even in the big schools of the schoolies, and it's a little more inconsistent in the patterning, and it's almost like bluefish are like militaristic coming in, right?
Yeah, they just
Like
all
doing
kind of
a march. Yeah.
focused, like almost like a flying V from
Exactly.
like ducks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely kind of cruise in together like that. And I notice my marks, if I'm looking at my fish finder, the bluefish are definitely a little bit thinner. They don't have as much color as the bass do, and they definitely don't mark as big. They almost look like, actually, one of the days that we found a good bluefish bite, and which is kind of like a really important detail when you're talking about installing your electronics and the new stuff that's out there. We were cruising at like 28, and I was in an area where I know I had caught bluefish, or at least stripers even too, a few days before. And as I was transiting through it, I just kept an eye on my fish finder, and I just saw one little blotch of, you probably wouldn't have even noticed it if you weren't looking for it. Just a couple little blue dots on the fish finder.
Hmm.
So I stopped the boat, I turned back around on it, and lo and behold, we were in a big school of blowfish, and started trolling the rapalas out and got a few of those. So that was cool. And then as the day went on, it progressed to bass. So we swapped back over to using live mackerel and catching the stripers that were around there. which is always kind of frustrating when you're fishing an area with live bait and there's bass and bluefish.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
That's fine. I feel like that happens in the fall.
Yeah,
Like
for
that's
sure.
more definitely in the fall. They swim together. It's wild.
It definitely is. This past week has kind of given that fall fishing feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, I've encountered big blitzes of good fish off the beach this week, which is rare in general. And it happened again the other day, but I was off the water and got the report from the guys that were out there. It happened about like 4 or 5 days later too. But yeah, like really weird. I'm noticing there's a lot of herring out there. Some of the keeper bass that we filleted have had herring bodies in there. I know we've been picking a few away when we've been out getting mackerel. Pogies down deep. I've still yet this season to see a school pop up top with some bass on it, but I've been marking them on the screen. You know, you can tell they're pogies just by the utter mass that it shows up on your fish finder. And they're not huge like 5 years ago pogie schools.
Yeah.
But, like, you know, they're big. They're clearly pogies. Or maybe even, I'm starting to think now, maybe they're densely packed herring schools.
Yeah, that could be too. Yeah, because I was catching herring in the over the bubbler.
Yeah.
You know, it was the small ones, but they definitely are. They've been around. They've been around since June, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so, too. And, like, this time, it's so weird because this time of year, end of July, you know, when we have a high tide down at the dock, 99% of the time, the water's super gin clear, and you can actually see the little young of the year herring, like the little 3 to 5 inch herring, just swimming around the boat. And that kind of kicks off, you know, the August run when those baits start moving out to the ocean.
Definitely.
But this year, with all the rain, the river's been chocolate milking. Like, they could be there, but I just don't see them.
It's not just the river, too. The outgoing tide, man. It's like all of Ipswich Bay becomes it's Brown Town.
I remember, like, when all the rain came down, my buddy went offshore, and he goes, I think he was, like, at the curl haddock fishing. And he goes, dude, it's still brown out there.
Yeah.
So, I know, yeah.
It's crazy.
It got to the point, like, when I was reaching in my live well to grab bait, like, my arms felt so gross. So, I don't know.
Oh, I know. It felt like you need to take a shower after you grab the bait. That's wild. Well, I will say, too, another thing that's been going on this season is, so I've made a bunch of attempts at an inshore tuna, and it's no easy task. It really isn't. I mean, luckily for me, like the first time I ever tried it, I got one.
Yeah, that's a problem. If you go tuna fishing and get one on your first time, let me tell you, like, don't get used to it.
Yeah, don't get used to it for sure. But there have been, I feel like out there inshore, there have been more blow-ups with tuna fish than I have seen ever this year. It seems like 50% of the time I'm out there, I see them.
Yeah, I haven't seen one. I think the last one I saw was actually with you a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Whenever was that last week?
Was with your dad's boat.
Yeah. I think that might have been the
that
last.
was the
one
last time I saw them inside too.
Yeah.
I know they're out there.
Yeah, it seems like.
I feel like the predatory fish make their way in, like the bluefish, the tuna fish, and like even the bass, and like there are certain days where there's struggles for mackerel, and it's got to be because those fish are just pushing them all over the place.
Oh, 100%. Those bluefish that came in a little bit heavier than they had been. I mean, there have been some cocktail blues kicking around, some snapper blues. But, you know, we were getting like those 30 to 35 inch big bluefish the last week. But again, it hasn't really been like that all out blitz. It's like seeing little pods here, there, 5 or 6. And actually, fun fact, everyone I've caught has been on an orange plug. I don't think I've caught one on purple yet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the orange always is the way to go.
Yeah, you got to have at least one out there.
Yeah.
And, I guess we'll talk about bluefish rigging. So, are you a steel leader guy? What do you do when it comes to trolling your plugs?
I just use some heavy mono. If I do have, I've tried to mess with a few, I got the Berkeley steel leaders, and, they suck so much. I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to stick to regular line.
Yeah, I have in the past used, the store-bought steel leaders that come equipped with, the hooks. And they break, man. Whether the steel kinks, whether it gets corroded, or even the swivel part. I remember last year I just threw one on because I didn't have any heavy mono on the boat. It was like a backup.
Swivel clips are cheap.
Oh, they suck, dude. I probably lost 3 Rapalas that day just from the swivel breaking because I didn't have any more leader material in the boat. So one thing that I normally do, for those of you that are listening here, for my bluefish leader, as opposed to putting on that cheap store-bought nylon, it's kind of like a braided wire. I've used shark leader, 50-pound, 60-pound shark leader before, But I think my favorite one is just pulling some 130 mono off my tuna reels. Or if you don't have tuna reels, go to Crossroads or Hudson's, and they'll rip off 20 feet for you. And I just make like little 2 foot, 1 foot bite leaders with a 130 pound test. And you know what? The 100 pound is easy enough. I don't get the 130 is easy enough. I don't got to crimp or anything.
Yep.
I can just do a 3-turn uni knot, right to the lure, little leader, tie it to a swivel, boom, just tie your swivel on, clip it on. So a little foot of.
Yeah, it's the way to go. It gives you that abrasion resistance you need, because at the end of the day, like lighter line, they're definitely gonna, if they get the line, they're gonna definitely snap.
Yeah, I don't
shoot
think
right through it, but I don't know. I just check the leader, make sure it's
exactly
not too damaged before I throw it back in, and do it again.
Yeah, and again, it's just easy. It's quick and tie. It's just a couple uni knots, and you're good to go.
Mm-hmm.
And like what I do is actually,
it also increases your chances of hooking up on something else.
Well, that's true too. I mean, I kind of do that to, if there are bass in the area. I don't really know if I ever had actually, I think I caught a bass last year in an orange plug.
Yeah.
But when I'm fishing more natural colors like Pogie, X-Wraps, or
we
mackerel.
did catch bass on X-Wraps this year.
Smoke bass on X-Wraps some days. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that was interesting.
Again, another weird day. So many weird days out there. So I think we talked about in the last podcast, but if we didn't, there's a couple days we're out there mackerel fishing, and we're marking bass and getting a mackerel here, a mackerel there, and we're throwing the mackerel out and catching a bass. Well, before you know it, we had more bass than mackerel, and we're like, well, let's just throw some of these X-Wraps around, and lo and behold, trolling X-Wraps works for stripers.
Yep.
I mean, I know they do. I know people do it all the time, like down in New Jersey, Boston.
Yeah, I feel like our fishery is a little different, though, right?
Why? I don't know, but it is.
Yeah, they get a little bit shy with those. But the cool thing about it is you can cover a ton of ground. Like, rather than slow trolling mackerel, you can go at 5-6 miles an hour and still hit it.
In worst case scenario, you control them at 5-7 miles an hour, somewhere in that range, and go over spots where you think they are, and you just cover so much more ground. And if you find them and you have mackerel, maybe switch over to the live bait. If you're marking them, not catching them, but you're in the area, switch up tactics. Mm-hmm. We were doing the same thing. We got a few on top waters out in the deep water the last few days too, which was really cool. Just seeing fish swirl and throwing a spook at them.
Very cool.
Yeah, and then, this time...
Oh, yeah, I did. I caught a 40-inch fish on a crippled herring.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Spinning on top. I threw it into the little boil that happened, and that was pretty awesome. That was one of the cooler fish of the year.
Didn't Matty V get one like that in Evo, too?
No.
No,
I don't think so.
I feel like it happened twice with you, maybe.
Oh, no, that was me another time. I lost that fish, though, but that was a giant. That was the one on Shoal Edge.
Yeah.
It was massive, and, we weren't finding mackerel. I'm like, I'm just going to stop blind casting, and I hooked, what I believe to be a 45-plus inch fish.
Yeah.
I saw it and everything. I was like, oh, that sucks.
Oh, was that the other day? Were you next to me there?
No, that was back in June. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
It might have been July. I don't know. All the days kind of blend together.
Oh, my God. Especially this year, man. I don't know what it is. I just feel like we're on another planet half the time. Just weather, running around, getting boat stuff. I got a new other job as well, so I've been dealing with that too, getting ready for school season to start. So, yeah, it's just been kind of a wild ride. I'm actually glad now that, hopefully we can start getting into some shark fishing.
Oh, definitely.
You went offshore the other day, but you did not. You were on vacation last week, and you took a little trip. Tell us about it.
I can tell you all about this trip. All right. So last week on Monday, it was a good weather day.
Yeah,
a good weather day all around. I had picked up the perfect week to come off because we could be off because the ocean was just perfect everywhere. And I had been hearing stories about this, and people have been telling me stories about this amazing tuna bite, down at the dump with Saldamontes Vineyard. And I was like, you know what? My little 21-foot boat, could I do something like that? And I'm looking, I checked the weather, and I'm like, wow, it's actually not going to be that bad. And then I started doing my research, asking my questions to the right people that I ask questions. I thank you guys for answering those questions.
Any shout out to those people?
Well, I got to give a shout out to Captain Mike Fallon for sure. Gabe Marks was also very helpful because Gabe was fishing down at the Cape, and it was a big debate. Do I go out and I try the Regal Sword to go for a bluefin, or do I make the trip down south? So both of those guys were really key in letting me know. And then
because they had both fished Sunday, I believe.
Yeah, they both fished the day before. Yeah. So Mike had been successful on jigs and on the troll down south, and then Gabe had caught a giant bluefin out of the sword last week, but his return trip he didn't get anything. But I think the real kicker was Kyle Davis called me, and Kyle Davis was just like, Dan, and he went down with a local guy down there that he's friends with and took him out. And he caught like 19 tuna fish.
He landed 19.
19 fish
I think,
in a single day.
According to him, I think 15 he did them all by himself. The other 4 he had to have the captain.
Yeah, and it was a mix of yellowfin and bluefin and a mostly school tuna and some giants.
I think he got 3 over 73.
Yeah, so there were three big ones that he got, and it's like a day. If you have a day like that, first of all, fishing like that doesn't happen, and when
Often.
it does. Just like honestly savor the moment, because to repeat is not an easy task. So I had these reports, and then I had to start doing my research as to what I wanted to do. Right, so I could take the boat down to Falmouth, and I could go that way, or I was looking for other options because I didn't want to go through the Muskega Channel.
The Muskega Channel.
Yeah, because
that.
From what I've heard, I've never driven my boat through there, but I hear it can be a little bit like the mouth of the river.
It's like 7 miles of the mouth of the Merrimack sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a good flow there. So upon my research, I came across Justin Oser, actually. I called him to see if he wanted to go, and Matt Burkett, I called him to see if he wanted to go. These guys are 2 extremely experienced fishermen, and Justin had local knowledge of Point Judith, Rhode Island, and he was like, Dan, he said, there's a launch that's absolutely perfect to do this. So we trailed the boat down to Point Judith, and we left at like 2 in the morning, and we got there. We were on the water before 5, and we steamed out in what was like the most beautiful sunrise departure ever, because here I am, I got all my tuna shit. I'm like, this is going to be amazing, and we're driving in what is like a lake at the moment, and then we get to where we're going. And the funny thing is that some of the tips that I used from Mike, the night before I put in my fish finder a mark as to exactly where I wanted to go when we left Point Judith. We ended up hooking up on a yellowfin within the first 20 minutes of being there, and it was 500 feet from that mark.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, 500 feet from the mark from where we got started. And the first one we got was on the troll, and I was just trolling 30 wides with some custom rods that I had built. And
did you get it on one of your custom rods?
Yeah.
Nice.
No, actually, this one actually was hooked on the. So I brought 2 different setups. I do have a set of 4 of the 30 wides with the custom rods, but I actually decided to bring, just in case anything bigger came, I do have the Macara 50 narrows, and I have those stand-up custom rods that I wanted to sell actually at our fishing fair, and no one bought them. I'm like, well, these things are custom 7-footers, and they have Stewart straight butts on them. They're like wicked nice, and they were only $60 a piece. I'm like, I can't believe no one wants these. So I said, F it, I'm just going to use them. So it actually hit on the Macara, and we gave Maddie the reel, and it was honestly really funny watching him try to reel it in.
Well, was that his first tuna?
It was his first tuna, so he had no idea what it was going to be like, how that was going to go down, and he fought. It's actually on video. Justin and Matt both have pretty good social media presence. So Iron Mountain Living is Matt's Instagram handle, and then Justin is Oser Outdoors. He has a YouTube channel and Instagram, and Justin actually documented the whole day, so that video is going to be released.
Oh, cool! I can't wait for it.
So yeah, Matt's like grunting, and he finally gets it in, and it was like 43 inches yellowfin.
Oh, perfect!
And it was awesome. So the rest of the day was it was different because here you are, you catch your first tuna 20 minutes in, you think you're going to catch a million of them, right?
Yeah.
But then the work really started to kick in. We were looking for life, committed to the troll for the first few hours anyway, and ton of whales, ton of dolphins. Some of the whale shows that we saw were just like unbelievable. Surface feeding, like opening up their mouths, like 3 of them in a row, just sucking in sand eels. It was like crazy to watch. Tails everywhere. We probably legitimately saw 60 whales between humpbacks and finbacks, and then thousands of dolphins.
No kidding.
Thousands. I say with confidence, thousands. And they were coming into the boat. They would do their little show, jump around, take a look at us, see what was going on. It was friggin' amazing. But that being said, it got to a point where I was just like, all right, we got to do something different. So we found bait balls, and I wasn't marking the tuna on the DI like others had reported in the days past. And on the radio down there, everyone's super friendly with sharing information. I don't know what's different down there, but it's just hey, guy in the blue boat, are you getting anything? And then they just like, oh yeah, I got this and this and this. What are you using? They're like going back. I'm like, wow, everyone's so nice. Like, they can't always be that nice.
Well, you got to figure too. Me and Mike have talked about this quite a bit. There's a lot of money and time involved to going offshore.
And
So
like the
it's
spots
like
there. Yeah, the spots there
aren't like spots.
Well,
It's weird.
they're not spots at all. That's right. Like, there's no real structure.
Yeah.
And everything is like 10 miles apart.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of like this area. You have like reference points that you fish. So that does make a lot of sense because so anyway, I got the Avid HXJ Raptor reel. That was a recommendation by Captain Brian Coombs. Thank you, Brian. And I also had my Zach Custom jigging rod, the 350 gram. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to get a friggin' tuna on the jig. So we found a bait ball, and I was like, they got to be down there. We start sending jigs down. And speed jigging, when you do your first couple of retrieves, if you're out of shape as myself, it's like, I can't believe I'm going to be doing this all day.
It's like after 5, you're like, I'm done.
Yeah, like totally smoked. But I hooked up. I hooked up on a 320 gram streaker jig from Nomad.
Sand deal?
Yep.
Nice.
No, it was actually a pink low.
Ooh.
And it went tight, and I was like, oh my God, I got a fish. Oh my God. And it was the fastest tuna catching ever in the history of tuna catchings. It took 2 minutes and 47 seconds for me to take that thing up from 185 feet.
Oh my God. What, did it swim into the boat?
And that's what happened. So like in the video, which is going to be released, Oser Outdoors, from hookup, so like getting it up, like it did take a few yards of drag. There was a couple of good runs, but it started to run right at me, and I thought I lost it. But just being a skilled angler, I was able to quickly retrieved and was able to take the slack out of the line. But the fish are so fast, it was really tough to keep up with. It ended up tail wrapped.
Yeah.
And then Justin just put a money gaff shot right in its head.
That picture he showed me was dope.
Yeah,
it's in the group chat right now.
Yeah, so we got 2, and we did hook up on another one. We went 2 for 3. I joke around with Matt, and I say, somewhere out there's a fish with a pinhole in its lip. And you did it.
Did he get that on the jig too?
It was on the jig, yeah.
Yeah.
And that would have been sick because that was on the jig and blank that I built from. It was one of the Batson ones. I forget what the specs were on it, but it was a super light one.
I think it was 30-80, 40-80, something like that.
Something like that, yeah. Might be the 30-60. But it was, oh man, if you had hooked that fish, that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
So he had it, the bite was there, tried to run a little bit, and then he lost it. But that's what happens with the jigs. Like, it's tough. The assist hooks, like, it's not a perfect setup. You know what I mean? Like, a lot can go wrong with, like, if you have your assist hook on the bottom and it's supposed to be on the top, like, it depends on your retrieve, it depends on how the fish hits. There's a lot that
depends on the type of jig.
Depends on the type of jig, yes. Like how it's going to be. Like those streakers are meant to be ripped up through the water column, and you need to have the assist hook on the top of them. Possibly even 2 if you want to. But then, when that stops, think about what it does in the water. Like there's a chance that a fish could literally grab the thing and the hook's not even in its mouth.
Yeah, and also too, the thing's getting ripped pretty fast. And, that fish is reacting to it and just trying to nail it. So, you could always hook them weird, like right in the face. I think that happens a lot when we're bluefishing and trolling plugs. Because I do feel like we tend to lose quite a few here and there. Say we hook, 10. We might lose 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is just because, we're pulling those rapalos so fast and those bluefishes coming in and kind of getting whacked in the face. And just, you get one hook. I took off my rear treble hooks and I put a J hook on. But yeah, I think actually all the bluefish I've landed have all been J hook caught in the back one. So
yeah, that stuff. It happens. So that trip was amazing, and we pushed it. Like we stayed out there until 3, and then I was like, all right, guys, like we wanted to get. I wanted Justin to hook up, so it was like we're down here. Let's put the time in. Let's make it happen, and. It was a question of, all right, now we're going back in. What am I going to do, right? And the Southwest, that is real deal. Southwest wind down there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
The ride in sucked so bad. It was like 40 miles of me, like, just like, I want to get back to the marine, back to the landing of the launch. And I just was like, hold on, boys, you're going to get wet. Fuck it. Like, let's go. And we did like 27 knots on the way in and just got absolutely soaked. because it was a wicked strong blow, and I wish that upon no one in a 21-foot boat.
Dude, I'll tell you one thing. You wrote a Facebook post about it the other day, but I mean, if someone's looking for a boat, you're 21. You've gone everywhere with that thing this year.
Yeah.
You've trailered it. We've gone. I mean, you could just talk about it. We went out that day tuna fishing.
Yeah, I've had multiple trips that have been about 200 miles.
Round trips, right?
Yeah,
just
round
whatever.
trips.
Where you putting miles on.
And any time I've been caught in anything that kind of stinks, like you plan for the weather, but there's always that unpredictable element, you know. Like sometimes you look at what they're predicting for wind, it doesn't really match what they're saying the waves or the tide's going to do, and then it's like, okay, it probably will be a little bumpier than this.
Like at this part of the day, like the morning ride out might be a little bumpy.
Exactly, but for me, when I look at this, and I'm like, okay, by 3 o'clock, it's probably going to suck, but that is the end of the day. At least it's not all day. Like I'll deal with that ride home.
Yeah.
Right.
And when you're on the water, I'm sure it was probably nice while you were still fishing, too.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like,
So
you don't
get the
realize,
fake out,
too, how it's kind of, like, kicking up a little bit. You really don't realize it until you're under power.
Yeah.
But this boat, man, like, it is absolutely amazing how you can beat the ever-loving shit out of it, and it is not going to break. Like, I have tested this thing's durability so much that I don't know. I trust that everyone's going to make it home safely.
Yeah, it's
100%.
It's an absolute tank. That day we went out to Wildcat and that.
Yeah.
You know, it was pretty nasty when we got out there.
That was like, the waves were pretty wild in that too, because when we were coming in, like on the shipping lane going to Stellwagen, like the waves were like, I'm like, all right, wow, the waves are legit carrying me because we had a following.
There was a weird quartering sea. Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. This is pretty big out here.
And dude, we were hanging with Fallon in his 25 Parker, no problem.
Yep.
Right? That didn't stop us from going anywhere.
Yeah, for sure. And then there was like other little things that, you know, like the tuna bag wasn't tied down correctly to the top of the T-top. I mentioned the trolling motor incident. The lift assist busted off of it.
And you fixed it, right?
I did fix it.
Nice.
Yep, super easy. I think we talked about that last time.
Yeah.
But it was the boat's amazing. For the amount of offshore fishing I do, it's absolutely perfect.
Yeah, you know, it really is. Like the fact that you can have a 21 and still enjoy your days offshore.
Yeah.
You know.
And the fuel economy is just, it's insane.
What you burn on your yellowfin trip?
On the yellowfin trip, 34 gallons.
34 gallons for a whole day of fishing?
Yeah.
What was it, like 30, 40 miles out?
Yeah, no, so it was probably about, I would say 120 miles round trip because of all the trolling and everything that we did. But the motor was on from 5 a.m. until 5. It was on for like 15 hours straight.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow, so what's that, 3 gallons an hour? No. How many, 12 hours?
It's too quick.
36.
I did the math teacher.
Yeah, 3 gallons an hour. That's solid, dude. You can't beat that.
No, it's like, I'm honestly amazing.
How big is the tank on the 21?
It's only 80 gallons. So I do always account for fuel and what is expected to burn. And we did bring an extra 20 gallons with us, and we did not need it whatsoever.
Not even close.
Every time I brought gas, I haven't needed it.
Yeah. That's crazy.
But, you know, I obviously would rather be looking at it than looking for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and yeah, you'll see in the videos, too. I did have 4 cans of gas under the leaning post. The other thing, too, is the fishability. Like, that's a lot of gear to come out. And when it was finally all came out to play on the boat, I was like, all right, this is a little crowded. When you got, like, your
chicken rods, your spinning rods.
Like everything is it. Well, when you really start using it, right?
Yeah.
Because then you got all your trolling shit. You got to move it all up front. Then when you start killing fish, and then you got a tuna bag. There's tuna in it. There's this. Like, so the bow got crowded real quick.
Maybe, yeah, right. Especially with the bag. The bag takes up a lot of room. If you don't,
it's a 72-inch kill bag.
Yeah. Maybe we should ratchet strap it to the T-top next time.
Yeah, well, I had to put the fish in it. So in the forward fish box fits the bag.
Okay.
So, like, I can open the hatch and I can get it in there. It's when you need to use it and you pull it out.
Yeah.
That's a different story.
Well, 40-inch tuna should probably fit in that hole pretty good, though. And
I think they might be too fat.
Yeah, it might be a little too round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that I tried to do it when I caught the 50-inch bluefin, and it didn't go in.
It didn't quite go in.
Yeah.
I know. I wonder if mine's a little bit deeper, because I could fit 7. I got 6 or 7 commercial grade life jackets in there. They're pretty thick and they stack up, and I got a couple little kid ones too.
Yeah.
So, and they fit in there pretty well. But yeah, I'm trying to think. Maybe we got a 48-inch tuna. It was probably the smallest one. And I don't remember trying to put it in there. I think I just put it in my
I think
cooler.
we just threw it in the cooler.
I think I
right?
just fit it in the
I
cooler.
mean, it didn't have a tail on it, right? So.
I'm talking about another one.
Oh, a different one.
Yeah. So, yeah, man. So let's get into that, dude, real quick. Shark fishing. Haven't talked about that in a while.
I know.
John had to take a charter for me today because I had my program that I had to go, my school program.
How'd it go?
Well, teacher meetings. It was good.
How'd the fishing go? Shit up with the program.
I was like, why are you asking me about that? No, I guess he crushed groundfish, got a couple nice sharks. Everyone had a great time.
Nice.
And it's that time of year, man. So, we opened up the show kind of talking about the summer doldrums. And, one of the great ways to beat that is just go do something different, right?
Yep.
Shark fishing's pretty easy to get into. You don't need the latest and greatest gear to give it a shot. And it's fun. You're pulling some big fish, particularly if you guys are, mostly inshore people. You can just, if you're in the Merrimack area, no problem going out to the 180 line or 240 line and throwing a bucket of chum and, seeing what comes up. It's pretty simple. You can make your rigs as complicated or as easy as you can. For our members, tomorrow night I'm going to be doing recording a seminar for you guys to put on our website on shark fishing. So we'll go over all the minutia and details of that. But, the general consensus of it's pretty simple. Get your area, just like fish or fish, find your structure, throw out a bucket of chum, ground fish while you wait, have a couple lines out. And, you'll pull on something big. A guy at my dock got a nice thresher the other day.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and I think he said it was 360 pounds.
Oh, it's like the size of the one you got.
Yeah. I think it was 90 inches. Mine was 96.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, big shark. So, and so that's always exciting whenever you hear one of those. We call them the exotics. One of the exotic sharks around.
I want to get a thresher.
Oh, dude, there's nothing like it. They're so... the Mako was super cool, but that thresher is so badass, man. That tail is the most ridiculous thing.
Yeah.
The speed at which it hits things and thrashes around and the jumping and just the power it gives them when they run and sink to the bottom. Yeah, they're a tough fish, man. They're a mean fish, and they're not fun to deal with on a small center console. But, if you're careful, if you want to keep one, you can do that. But, big blue sharks.
Longer harpoons.
Yeah, just watch out for that tail,
Notice
man.
I said harpoons.
Yeah, you need two. Yeah, we pulled the fly gaff on one. That was scary. I don't think I'll ever fly gaff one again. I think that's kind of out of my... I always heard the stories. I think it was the first fish I actually fly gaff. Maybe the second. Yeah, it was the second. And it threw the hook and it slingshotted back into the side of the boat on the Parker when I had the Parker. And, not a good feeling. Not a good feeling seeing that thing come at you. But just wicked cool fish. And, it still seems there's a lot of poor beagles around out there, too. Almost like being a nuisance for the tuna guys.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going out Sunday for a shark trip. So I'm really excited to go do something a little bit different because I've been striper fishing since May 15th.
Nice.
Maybe even sooner.
You think you're going out to Jeffries?
Probably. I mean, I don't know. It's a week away. We'll see what things are. A lot of times when I'm shark fishing, believe it or not, I'm not really. I wait to see what the conditions are doing, before I pick my spot because, you want to factor in the wind. I want to be in the best structure for the longest amount of time. So that's kind of like my typical game plan.
Yeah.
So I want to see where that wind's going to push me. A lot of times too, I'll have an idea of where I want to go. And then, say I'm fishing, I don't know, the east side of Jeffries, right? I might stop somewhere on top of Jeffries about 3 or 4 miles away from where I'm going and just give it 5 minutes and see exactly which direction I'm going to drift. And then I just kind of take that line and translate it over to where my possible spots are going to be and see, again, where am I going to hit the most structure if I kind of assume at least a 4 to 6 mile drift. That's kind of like what I'm aiming for in 6-7 hours of actual fishing out there. So, water temperature plays a role, particularly when it comes to the exotic sharks. We'll talk about that a little bit more in the members only podcast. And You know, some guys go out there and we'll have everybody bottom fishing and throw out a couple shark lines. When I'm shark fishing, like I'm shark fishing, it's shark with a side of bottom fish.
Yeah.
You know, whereas I know, like John and his shark trips does bottom fish with like a side of shark.
Yep.
So there's all different ways you could kind of approach it.
Definitely. Yeah, it was funny because going into this year, I'm like, all right, I'm organizing all my stuff. And I'm like, oh, I think I need shark hooks. So I go Catch All Tackle. I get their shark hooks. I feel like
Yep.
for disposable hooks, you know, because you know you're probably going to get a lot of blues. And like they're a sturdy hook and they were a good price.
Mm-hmm.
So I get another 30-something hooks. And then I'm taking everything out, and then I realize like I literally had 100 hooks that I bought the year before. I'm like, I got to do better with inventory. This is
Yeah, I actually did the same thing. I'm like, I'll get 50 hooks. I think I got some left. I still had like 100 from last year. Because I remember we were burning through them. We were having some days, dude, where we were catching like 15 plus sharks before everyone quit. And I made an order towards the end of the year, and I think I probably only had one shark trip left, and I probably overdid it. But
yeah, and I don't know, did we do a members video? We did for the shark leader. Yeah, so
yeah.
Doing your own haywire twists and getting your own hooks and not paying for pre-made leaders will save you a ton of money shark fishing.
Absolutely, and you have the right gear on too. Yep. Those pre-made shark leaders, I'm not a fan of. You know, the way we do it in small boats, we utilize the wind-down leader system to a short steel leader, or even I might even play with just going straight to the heavy mono.
Yeah.
You know, I might toss a rod out next time out and see how that goes. But for those of you that are interested, and we get no sponsorship or affiliation with them, but a lot of our shark gear you can find on catchalltackle.com. They have great shark hooks, and they're cheap. They're non-offset circle hooks, non-stainless, which is what you need. I think a pack of 10 is like $10. So, you know, they can be pretty disposable, especially when you're catching blue sharks all day. And, you know, you can try to get the hook out. It's not easy. It takes up a lot of time. We just kind of grab it, get the fish under control, and just cut the leader, take a couple pictures or videos, and then just let it be on its way. And eventually that hook will rust out in a couple days, and it won't be an issue. Mm-hmm. And, you know, you look at them, they look so big and thick and weird, but yeah, they do the trick, man. They do the trick.
Definitely.
The only thing is with those is, like, say if you want to fish live bait, I'm not always a live bait person when it comes to sharks. But, like, say you want to put, like, a big mackerel on or even, like, a bottom fish or something, you know, then I'll scale down to, like, a tuna circle hook. You know, it's more expensive, but, you know, I'm hoping if I'm fishing a live bait, I'm going for something cool that'll be worth the hook.
I do have some gator blues that are in my freezer ready to be eaten.
Oh, yeah, we got, like, a good 15 or so bluefish in the freezer the other day,
nice.
So, yeah, and then... Yeah, it's just always good, like, especially for someone like me who's just been inshore for the last 2-3 months, to get back out there, because I don't think I've been out there since haddock season. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Wow.
Yeah, we haven't had any of our afternoon trips to Jeffrey's.
Yeah, not yet. Not yet. Coming soon.
It was just keeping the eye on the weather the whole time. So, yeah, is there anything else that we got?
No. I will say that... you know, kind of not fishing related, but not game related. I finally made the switch from a chest freezer to an upright.
Yeah.
What a friggin' difference.
Oh, you like the upright?
Oh, yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
I got it all set up yesterday. No, this morning. What a long day this has been.
Mm.
And it's so nice to, like, the chest freezer, which has now become the bait freezer. I don't have to open the chest freezer, go onto the frozen mackerel, maybe the frozen bluefish to get to a tuna steak. Like, it's like... You're not pulling things out. And I don't know why I ever thought it was a good idea to have the chest freezer. Maybe because you can ultimately probably fit more in it. But it really is just like a big box of everything. Yeah. And now it's nice and organized.
Yeah, no matter how much you try to organize it, because everything's shaped different, you know, it's hard. It's hard.
Definitely.
So, and, yeah, no, I get 2 chest freezers full of shit right now.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
I think, Mike from Crossroads ordered some purple clams for us early last year. He goes, I don't know if we're going to be able to get them again. Yeah. And me and John bought like 2 boxes. So I got clams for like the next 3 years for haddock fishing. And, yeah, actually, I got a funny story I'd like to share. So, you know, when people book with me, especially online, they get a confirmation email Just like, the directions of where to park, what to bring, what to expect, all that good, how to contact me. And one of the things on there is, no bananas. And I always get questions asked, like, why no bananas all the time? Why no bananas? And for those of you that don't know, bananas are bad luck on a boat.
Absolutely.
And I remember I had a family, and they were asking me. It was a mother and kids, husband and stuff. And they asked me about the bananas on the boat. And I'm like, oh no, it's bad luck. You can't do it. And I started telling them a bunch of stories. Well, about a week later, I got a text from the mom. She goes, Chris, I thought you'd appreciate this. My son went on a friend's boat today, and the mom packed bananas for lunch, and their boat broke down. They had to get towed in. And I'm just like, yeah, man, you can't mess with the banana situation. Have you ever had a banana on the boat?
Never. No, never.
But your boat's yellow, though.
I know.
That's a ballsy move.
It is.
It's a ballsy move.
But the bananas are on the outside.
Yeah.
The yellow's on the outside, it's not in the boat.
Jesus. So, I don't know. No, I guess I'll share a couple banana stories. So this all started.
So the Fruit of the Loom logo doesn't have bananas on it specifically because of the bad luck on the boat, right?
Supposedly that's the story that I read and heard.
Yeah,
so
I always thought the logo had a banana, and they're like, it doesn't have a banana. And I look, and it's like, no, it's like an orange and grapes and not banana.
Not banana. So the story goes that I've read and I've heard that Fruit of the Loom, I guess, used to have a banana in their little cornucopia of fruit there in their logo, right? So I guess a bunch of people that worked there went on a fishing trip out of Florida, I think. I'm not really sure where they're based out of, but I'm pretty sure the story is Florida. And the captain and the mate were busting their balls all day for being the banana boys, right? I guess they all got seasick, had a terrible time, and they kept hearing about the bananas, and the guy's busting his balls. And the graphic designer was on the boat, and he went home and right away and changed the logo and took the bananas out so it wouldn't happen to anybody again. But I remember working on my first day working on the party boats. Those of you that have gone as a guest at Captain's fishing parties, you all know Jay, the mate. Jay is great. He's hilarious. And I just remember sitting there, and I was collecting and counting tickets, and he was checking coolers for alcohol because, they have their liquor license. You can't bring your own liquor on board. And he's just got his head down this person's cooler, and he just, rifling through. And then I just see him, just chuck bananas over his shoulder. And the guy's like, hey, what the hell? He goes, no bananas on the boat, dead serious. And the guy's like, what do you mean? He's like, no, they're bad luck, no bananas on the boat. And that's the first I had heard of it. So then he told me the story. And, dude, ever since then, every banana that I've ever seen, nothing good comes for it at all. Dude, he would make people sit at the docks and eat the banana before coming on board.
Yeah, but then it comes on inside the stomach.
I make my students, they're not allowed to bring a banana in the classroom when the boat's in the water. So September, October, and June, May. Nope. One of the kids, it was Memorial Day weekend, right before my first weekend with the new boat when I got the pair. And I came back from lunch one day, and there was a banana on my keyboard.
Yeah.
And I knew it was one of my students. Do you remember what happened that Memorial Day weekend, Dan? The first one on the boat, you and I?
Oh, yes, I do.
Oh, yeah.
I think we talked about it on the podcast before.
Yeah, all straight to the banana. Well, anyways, if you didn't hear this before, we were buzzing around Memorial Day, trying out the new boat, putting it through the works.
Listening to CCR.
Cranking music, waving flags everywhere. Just, awesome. I'm actually being a fun idiot for once on the boat instead of just fishing. And, the fuel gauge was an electrical fuel gauge, and it wasn't set yet, and I ran out of gas. I said I had 30 gallons left, and I went back to school, and I was like, whoever put that banana, you're done. You fail in the class. Oh, man.
That's funny. I would like to hear, if anyone has any banana stories, share them in the comments. That'd be great.
Oh, yeah. I would love to hear any banana stories that you guys got. I can go on for days. Trying to think of another one too. We were anchored up in Freeline and Bates.
Oh, the best one. Oh, sorry.
Oh,
the one with Joffrey.
Oh, yeah, I'll get into that because he should know better. So we were on this trip. We were just spot locking, pitching out baits, slamming fish. It was a great time. And then all of a sudden the guy's like, I'm going to take a break. And he sits down. He goes to eat a banana. I'm like, dude, you got to get that off the boat. He's like, what? No. And his buddies are like, it's bad luck. You got to get it off. He's like, no, I'm not getting rid of it. I'm like, fine, we're not going to catch anything. So he was just taking his time eating it to prove a point. And we had no bites in 5-10 minutes. I'm like, what is going on? And then, he's like, after a couple minutes, he goes, all right, I'm done eating the banana. Where the hell are all these fish? And I'm like, ugh. And I look down, and I see the banana peel in the bucket. And I just take it out, and I put it in his face. I go, get this effing thing out of here. And I chucked it. And as I watched it go in the air and fall and hit the water, double hook up on what would have been over slot fish at the time.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then Joffrey. My buddy Joffrey, great kid, not a fisherman, but he's like my guy that I'll call because he's a teacher too, so he's got time off. So, hey, Joff, I got an afternoon trip. Come help me get mackerel this morning. He's always down. So this was last year or 2 years? Last year. So mackerel fishing have been kind of tough, and I'm like, all right, let's just go out to the Isles of Shoals and get a bunch of mackerel for my trip and come in, maybe fish a little bit. So, the Isles of Shoals is like a go-to. It's almost like if there's nothing else going on, you get mackerel up there, right?
We're probably going to be there, yeah.
Yeah, so we go up there. Dude, I'm pounding it hard. Like, I brought 4 quarts of chum, went through all my chum, can't find anything. And Josh's like, all right, well, I'm not catching shit. I'm going to get something to eat. And I see him open. I knew it. I had a feeling the whole time. And I look at him, he flips open his stupid little lunchbox like a 12-year-old. And he goes, oh, God. And he just looks at me and folds it down. And I'm like, you know better. Don't even say it. Because he knows this. I go, don't even say it. He goes, Danielle, pack my bag. And he just reaches in and throws a banana out. And I was like, dude, I just spent like 4 hours trying to get mackerel. Burned all this gas. And oh, you had a banana? He's like, I'm so sorry. He was like legit, like apologetic. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And then I'm like, whatever. Drop down over sabiki, full string. Yeah, it's even worse when they know better. Well, we had another trip this morning. I mean, not this morning, this year, and I felt so bad. It was one of my regulars. They come down from Vermont and they spend the night, and the weather was iffy, but like they're good about like fishing in bad weather too. So it was funny. I got off my trip on the night before on Sunday night, and they were at the deck. So I went over and had dinner with them. And we were talking about our day tomorrow. And so I'm like, well, we'll see what the weather's like, too. It looks like it's going to be iffy. And we got down there, and they're in the parking lot because they were staying at Stripers, which is right there at my marina, right? Mm-hmm. And they're in the parking lot, and Christine, sorry, Christine, I'm calling you out. She was mowing down a banana, and the flags were stiff coming out of the east. I'm like, yeah, between the banana and this wind guy, I don't know. So we had to unfortunately cancel it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we made a good move because it was a pretty nasty day that day.
Yeah.
But yep. Christine, we've been giving her shit about the banana. So, Lee, make sure she hears this. Oh, God.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. But, yeah, don't do it, guys. Don't put yourself in that position. No bananas on the boat. What about good luck? Are there any good luck things you put in your boat?
Me.
You? That's your go-to.
Just kidding. No, I have 2 little duckies on the boat, my rubber duckies. I like having those. But aside from that.
Oh, wait, like the things that cover your gaff? Is that what you're talking? Yeah. So tell them what you do to protect your gaff.
To protect my gaff, I have little rubber duckies. That's what I put on.
The boat. The boat's name is Rubber Ducky.
Yeah, it's the ducky. So
ducky.
It's it just totally made sense, and I always make sure that one of them is on the boat, and it's good to go. And as far as like superstition, I just am very kind of obsessive compulsive with my boat, and everything kind of needs to be in its place. Like that's like the way I roll. And like if I'm feeling organized, I'm feeling like I'm gonna catch fish.
Feeling clean.
Yeah, feeling right. Everything's feeling right. And when things become a little chaotic, and like I'm looking for this and doing that, and like I'm trying to like everything to me is like it's becoming more scientific, I guess. I want to be able to change out a leader in like 30 seconds. I don't want to have to be scrambling trying to find things to put things together. Like I want to be able to change out a bait or a lure or I want like the efficiency level needs to be high in order to be successful. And I feel like there's no luck in that. It's just being well planned.
I really feel like the efficiency of things and reacting to stimuli is what separates like the good from the greats in this game. Like, that's why I like Fallon's so good because everything's so rigged and ready to go all the time. A lot of the guides and guys out here that are very successful or are prepped, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to go into. You have to think about storage solutions.
Yeah,
and
well,
how
a
you
lot
can
of
set it up.
fishing is like it's situational too,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's like, what way am I going to fish? And then like you really got to pick a way and commit to it because if you try to do like every single different way, like you're gonna miss a bite or something's gonna happen,
Yeah.
right? So if like I'm going out with the intention of slow trolling mackerel, I'm going to go out and I'm going to slow troll mackerel. If I have the intention of going out and casting plugs, don't get me wrong, I'm going to have things that are there for live bait fishing if it does come along, but the true intention is to have everything rigged and ready to be thrown those plugs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't want to be, there's nothing worse than getting out there and then having your, fish jumping all around you and you're trying to like make something happen. And then by the time you're actually fishing, they're all gone.
Well, case in point, the other day I was actually leaving the dock planning something that, because fishing had been slow, and I was kind of planning on something that, I typically don't do. I was going to go try it out. But, I had a 6 hour trip, so I was like, I'll start here. And I went through and I re-rigged all my rods with top water plugs. And, I rigged one with, I think, a couple docks, couple, the Daddy Mac dock version, couple pencil poppers. I just had them rigged, and then kind of like on the way out, kind of got the report from where I was gonna go. Somebody was out there, and they said it sucked. So I was like, back to maybe like trolling the beach. You know what I mean? So I pull out of the mouth. I'm running down the beach, and I'm just like, wow, that is the biggest feed I've ever seen of stripers in my life on the ocean. And then for 2 hours, we just pummeled slots and overs. We lost a fish that was 50 plus inches. Like, oh, we got that one on a dead mackerel. I was just drifting it while these guys were casting. Dude, we had 4 people on the boat. We had 3 quintuple hookups, or whatever 5 is, right? So it was insane. And we had this one dude, and it was like probably 10 feet from the boat, and I could see the circle hook was on the outside corner of the lip. And the kid fought it forever. It was a huge fish. Like, we fought it for a while. The kid did nothing wrong, and it just popped.
Yeah, it just wasn't a good hook set.
15 feet from the boat, but it was clear water, surprisingly, for the first time in like a month. And you could see it, dude, and it was a toad. I'm having nightmares thinking about it now. But yeah, it was really cool. For 2 hours, we had a nice top water blitz. It was really, really neat and unexpected, but it just happened to be dumb luck that I had those rods rigged up because they all had sabikis on them an hour ago, That was just a dumb luck opportunity. And, hopefully that becomes a pattern. It didn't happen the next day.
Yeah. But it happened the day after.
But it happened the day after, too. But, again, that was pretty much the only only really good bite. Otherwise, you're grinding out. You're trying to find an area. Definitely, even if you're not marking fish, there was one day this week where I don't think I marked one striper, but we went like 9 for 13 trolling on big fish.
Mm-hmm.
But it felt like a grind because you're not in that June, early July stage where you're consistently catching a ton of fish, right?
Yeah.
So we were getting a couple, and then we also did notice that at first I thought it was a tide thing. It seemed like around 8 o'clock the bite was shutting off, but then that happened for like 3 or 4 days, and I think it was more of a light situation or later in the day. They might have been eating until about 8 o'clock, and then it kind of slowed down for like about 45 minutes. Then it would pick up again. It was really, really weird how that was the pattern for a while. And but again, with all these storms and stuff, those open deep water fish are just on the move all the time, and there's a lot of water to cover. So that's why your thought about trolling the X-Wraps maybe in that situation.
Yeah.
I think I did that one day. I think I got mackerel and trolled for X-Wraps for bluefish or stripers. I was kind of in the same area. So instead of doing like my orange, I think I did one orange, and instead of a purple, I did like a mackerel color. And we ended up getting couple bluefish and a bass on the mackerel one. So, and then once that died off, we just took the bait and went in the mouth and crushed it after that. So, but even that kind of died off towards the week, off and on fluctuations. It just seems like there's one major bite period of the day right now, and that major bite period is kind of floating around. It seems to kind of be, we talked about this in my straight bass seminar series too. It's kind of like hovering around the slacks, an hour before, an hour after, but it's just in a different spot every time. So having a network, it can be very helpful, or just covering ground yourself and taking a look at things like water temperature. I like, 63 to 68 is kind of like my wheelhouse that I'm looking for out there. And this time of year, that can make a big difference. There's definitely times like I'll just run the beach until I get a good temperature change, and like, from 61 to 64. And then I'll fish in that 64 side a little bit, and, maybe move over to the 61. That's not too bad, but yeah, it's just sometimes they get finicky and want to hang out in some sort of comfortable temperature. So night bite's still great, it seems like.
Yep.
It seems like the commercial guys are doing really well. Yeah, so I think the world is your oyster. I think it's an opportunity to take some chances, try something new, fish areas you haven't fished, or try different species, like going out shark fishing, trying the tuna. Or grind it out inshore, and hopefully you get on one of those special bite windows and crush it. So, and again, this year's been different too, because like I haven't really done any new techniques or anything. I've been kind of just going by the old standbys, just kind of trolling and drifting. Nothing really special. I think a lot of it has to do with too. It's just because things are changing almost every other day, so you got to be on your toes and be able to move quickly and try some stuff.
Yep.
So, or try different areas and make sure there's fish there, before you can start getting real technical on some things. So, yeah, but
cool.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for listening. If you're one of our members, please check back on Tuesday, August 1st. I'm going to be recording a shark presentation for our members tomorrow night, and I'll have it up there tomorrow. And yeah, man, it's just ready to go do some offshore stuff now.
Yeah,
switch it up.
Unfortunately, we're over the hill in summer, so it's just
Another few weeks, Albie season down at the Cape.
Yeah, but there's a lot to look forward to, but it's a sign that the end is coming.
Oh yeah.
And granted, but like the end is like December now for me, so it's kind of like,
yeah, dude, we were fishing like around things. Did we fish in December last year?
It might have been December. It was the end of November.
It was after Thanksgiving. One day we went out. It was like December 3rd.
Yeah, and I've learned that like it's awesome. It is awesome.
Dude, a couple of those days were nice. A little rough, but nice.
Yeah, definitely.
So
there's no one out there. It's great.
All right, guys, tight lines. Thank you very much for listening. All right.
Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.
See you next time.